Hi, Isaiah. Thank you for being a guest on Be Your Own Advocate today. I have always found all the information that you share so interesting, and I wanted you to be a guest today so that you could share it with our audience. So, a little background on you. Isaiah Fleecebach. He was raised in the mountains of Northern California, where his family lived a very natural lifestyle. Daily practices included yoga and body work and farming and building. So everything was very natural and very physical, if I can say it like that. His environment developed a lot of his interests, but it was through his own pain and suppression that led him to understand body work at the level that he now understands it, teaches it, and practices. So for over 30 years, he's been dedicated to passionately supporting others through mind-body therapies to help improve their health and positively grow their lives and their relationships. So, and his effect on the people that he works with is profound. I have heard from many people as well as experienced it myself. So welcome, Isaiah.
Thank
So
you.
one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about are things that you've mentioned to me over time. And it's so, why does stress and tension and trauma accumulate in our bodies the way that it does? And what is that effect on inflammation, which we all know at this point is something that people don't seem to be able to get by?
Yes, good question. I believe that the accumulation happens naturally because we're unable to process moments of our life. People call it small trauma, small t, big T. Those moments where we can't really process and integrate what's happening. And in that moment, we avoid, we hide, we suppress, we react in some way, and we hold emotional tension in
Yeah.
those moments and physical tension in those moments. And that accumulates and stacks up in the physical tissues and the organs and the brain, the nervous system, and creates a really high level of protection, right? And defensiveness and reaction and sympathetic reaction in the nervous system. So, yeah,
What
it's natural.
what is it that stacks up? What
Oh,
it what is it that causes that on the physical plane?
so many things.
Yeah.
So many things. Not being in alignment in ourselves, in our environment, our relationships. It's avoidance. It's fear. It's protection. It's many, many, many things. But something that separates us from ourselves and keeps us stuck in some sort of criticism or judgment or lack of some sort of limitation, a belief of a limitation is a fear, say. So that repetition of a limitation becomes a fear, and it grows and grows and grows. There's so many reasons why we stack and store. Our environment, our childhood, our upbringing, so many interactions where we're not able to. So many. We talk to an older person. Often they have an experience when they're like 9 or 5, where they got alienated from a group of people, or they had some sort of trauma of some kind,
Right.
and it stayed with them their whole life and limited their ability to express themselves and to feel grounded and connected. So I mean, there's so
Is
many.
it in the cells? Is it in the cells?
100%. It's in the organs, it's in the cells, it's in the nervous system, it's in the muscle tissues, it's in the fascia specifically.
Hmm.
Fascia is
Oh
that
yeah.
connective tissue that surrounds all the muscles, the tendons, the ligaments, the organs, the brain. Everything's surrounded by this sheath of living liquid steel, basically. It's very
Yes.
strong, cobweb material that brings life to us. We would just be a pile on the floor if we didn't have
Yeah.
this suspended material fascia keeping us integrated and connected and expressive and moving. So the fascia stores the physical tension, it stores the emotional tension. A lot of times in modern science now they talk about the fascia being the emotional body, and which
Mhm.
is fascinating.
Yeah.
I focus on really honing in on that fascial tissue in order to release the accumulation that we've piled and stored.
Yeah. 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 That's so interesting. It's so interesting how emotional and mental components can end up in the body as a as a physical
Yeah.
substance,
They
essentially,
actually
right?
they originate in the body, right? In Chinese medicine, each internal organ represents it's a storehouse and generator of specific psychological emotional qualities. So our behavior is a reflection of the health of our organs. And we start looking into Chinese medicine. It's
Say
fascinating.
that again. So our behavior is a reflection. Say that again. That was so.
Our behavior is a reflection of the health of our internal organs. Each organ has specific consciousness and function and
Yeah.
stores and generates specific emotions. So, for example, rage or anger might be in the heart. And then unconditional love and openness and, acceptance might be the high side, but the low side's rage. So it could be so many different examples. Everyone has different examples.
Like a map,
A
right?
map, yeah. We've got thousands of years to pull from in experiential human history, showing the connections from emotions to organs to tissues to muscles and how it affects our function. So we can use that, combine it with modern biomechanics and modern science, and start to put it together and get a opportunity to live a much healthier lifestyle based on that knowledge.
How can you, or can you permanently release these emotions through physical action?
Yes. Yes. But we need, in my experience, we need to apply, first of all, we need to integrate it and feel safe enough to integrate whatever we're holding on to, whatever limitation is there. So safety is essential, but we need to apply enough force physically in order to deleverage that stress and have it come out. Again, safe container, feeling clear and safe in your boundaries and yourself, but then you need more force. So if I have, say, a limitation physically, that keeps stacking more and more tension in my shoulders, say, and I'm holding tons of tension in my shoulders and neck, and it's like 25 years of that, right? I'm
Right.
going to need a lot of force to break down that tension that I've accumulated. If I'm holding 50 pounds of tension right there, I can't get a 3-pound massage or a Reiki treatment and have it dissolve. It just doesn't work that way. We need to
Yeah.
treat the soft tissue in a forceful way, but safe. So
Yeah.
how
Yeah. It is. It's just really, I think I was just thinking about therapy and how sometimes people are in therapy for years and years and years to work through some of those issues that we were just talking about. But they're only going to be able to just keep talking about it and think about it differently, but it's still locked in their body, which is really where the key to unlocking it is using physical pressure and force to then open the door, unlock it, and so that they can get rid of it.
Yeah, we need that physical lever, but we also need to be able to create a new narrative. We're telling
Right.
ourselves the same limiting stories over and over again, and that really fuels so much of what limits us. So it's breaking the cycle of the narrative in combination with the physical lever and the emotional integration that happens then. That's where the healing happens. So often people want to just move towards the light and love and everything that feels good and comfortable, but the healing
Right.
doesn't happen there. The healing happens in recognizing the disconnected parts, the parts that are unloved, that are unattended to. Attending to those parts is healing and is actually self-love, you know?
How do you do that in your work? Well, I know there's many levels of it, but one something you can share.
The challenge with this work is to try to like hone in and talk about one piece because there's so much and everyone is so individual and so complex, but yet we all share so many similarities. I think that what we need to do first of all is coach safety back into the body through good interaction with each other, with your therapist or whatever. For example, therapy is amazing. I love, being able to talk about things and identify things and express what's unexpressed is extremely healing and really, really important part of the process, but it's not the end of the process, right? I have so many therapists and people who send their people to me because they've reached the end of the line with talking. They've
Yeah.
identified everything, they're clear on it, but yet in the moment of stress or in the moment of life when things get ignited, all those tools and all that knowledge doesn't mean anything because the nervous system's upset, we're activated, and there's no longer ability to regulate ourselves or control ourselves. And so I really think that it's essential that we, really start to dissect that for ourselves and each other in the process. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. And then, when people's muscles are struggling, then it affects their strength. Like even walking, hips, how strong hips are and walking, and that when people get strong, how they feel strong mentally, how they feel strong emotionally, it all goes together. But
Yeah.
strength is the key oftentimes, I would think.
And strength, we always think we got to build strength. Sometimes we got to back off of compensation and the strength arrives right away, right? So for example, if I'm unstable in the front of my body, the backside of my body's got to form tension to balance out that lack of stability in the front. So then we start to go after the tension and focus on the tension, but that's not the issue. The issue is the instability, the disconnect with these tissues that allow those tissues to take over. So we live in a culture that compensates and overcompensates as a general basis, and we suffer from that overcompensation and things start to get really convoluted, and we can no longer tell what's proper function versus not. Like, for example, when we start to move away from compensation and start to address the weakness that we haven't wanted to face,
Yeah.
boom, we start feeling strong and balanced more every day. So sometimes less is more, but it's got to be done in specific ways. And then other times we're too weak and deficient, and we really do need to build more signal, more strength consistently to that tissue in order to improve function. So it's kind of like, are you excess or are you deficient in motor units, contraction quality, presence, emotional integrity, whatever? And how can we figure out where you are on the scale and then address that either through.
Oh, I'm sorry. So sorry. When you're doing your work, when you're doing your work, do you and you're focused on a specific area of the body, do you also explain to that person the mental and the emotional elements that you're working on, or do you just work on the physical and allow the process to take place where it's not identified?
I do it all. I want to increase people's strength,
Mm-hmm.
nervous system regulation, mental calmness and openness, emotional integrity and emotional integration. I want to address everything, get benefits in every aspect of someone at the same time. So the same movement, same breath, same focus serves all parts of us, but it takes a specific approach for that to happen. So I think, yeah.
Does it take a lot of time?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
It depends how much resistance there is to facing and feeling, expressing what's inside of us. You know what I mean? It can take a long time to get to the point where some people will just be like talking about their life story over and over and over. And in that repetition, they lose the presence. They lose what's actually available in the present moment, and they're caught in the past. So if someone's really caught in the past, it takes a long time sometimes.
Yeah.
But if
I guess
really,
the resistance is a strength all onto itself. Is the resistance show up as strength?
it can, if it's transformed. The resistance generally is held, therefore it's limiting us, limiting our function on all levels. But if we can take that same force and start to move it, then it can start to work for us. So stagnant, it works against us. Moving, it works for us. But how to get it?
Do you start on a physical and work into the body through the physical and then like let the body open up mentally and emotionally by accessing the physical? Because people will let you access the physical, but that a lot sooner than they will tell you their fears. Is that right?
What's amazing is I'm working physically to begin with. We start talking, and in no time, they're telling me all the the deepest parts of themselves within reason, pretty quickly, because they feel open, trusting in the container, and their body starts to open. And then in the conversation, it just starts happening, starts coming out.
Can you show us a few things, a few like things that people like?
Sure.
People can do to quickly change an emotional state of mind. I don't know if that's possible.
Yeah. It's kind of hard in a quick demonstration. I'll give you a couple quick examples to understand what we're talking about. So
the one that you showed the other day, this one, that's a great one. If you can show us that one again too.
Okay. So in the body work I do, number one, we've got to get down deep into the bone layer. So if I'm walking on someone's leg, for example, walking on their hamstring, I stand up on a walker, I provide resistance, and then I give them an amount of force that they can handle, but it's deeper than they're used to. Maybe I'm putting 200 pounds, 225 pounds on them versus a normal massage with like a thumb or a hand pressure, right? So the whole idea is to work from that superficial layer of tissues down into the bone layer, where that fascial adhesion and muscle adhesion is. When we can get down there and unwind that tissue, step one, then we have a permanent change in someone's body and their function. Then we have to start to move that force and maintain it. We've got to take the distortion out. By addressing the tension, we take out the deeper distortion. So I'll give you an example. If it's your bicep, everyone can do this with me. Put your hand on your left hand on top of right, and we'll start at the bottom and just curl up with your right and resist with your left. Simple bicep curl. So we come up, we get that bicep as short as we can, and we hold max tension in there, and then continue to resist with the right hand and push slowly away. So towards you is concentric contraction, holding at the top isometric, and then resisting and lengthening that tissue is eccentric. So we're missing the long, slow, maximal force eccentrics from most PT and most therapy in general. We need to have a force that's greater than we're holding in order for the muscle to release, because all the muscle does is contract. One function, every muscle in your body. So if it's contracted here and we contract it more, then it can let go.
Right.
But if I'm contracted and held my body and I'm just trying to think about letting go and I'm focusing on letting go, it doesn't do anything. There's no force behind it. It's not going to convince my body that actually it's safe to let go.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
quick example of that, we're going to use the rear shoulder muscles. We're going to hold our right hand up at 90 degrees, make a fist, make sure there's lots of tension in your right arm. And then we'll hold the left four fingers right on that bone of the arm right here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're going to say right arm is going to come across the left side of the body. Left arm is pulling this way, and right arm is going to win against that force, slowly pushing out to the right. Keep your head and hips forward.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that feels good.
So we slowly push the right hand out, and all the rear right muscles contract and get short. Then we hold that tension isometrically here. Take a nice deep breath in. Keep resisting with the right arm, and then slowly pull with the left across your body. And as we maximally resist but overcome with the other arm, we are affecting all this tissue all back to the right side. And specifically because there's max force on that tissue, the fascia is getting engaged through that muscular contraction, and all those fibers are getting a chance to start to move a little bit more and more and more over time. As we apply more force than is held, and those tissues go from here to here to here, they never go back to there. They've already changed their mind. We've used force and compression to change their orientation, and they will not go back to where they were.
I love that they've changed their mind.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll do this again. We're going to do 3 reps real quick. Going to hold and resist. Right hand pushes out, left wins, staying steady. No pain in the joint, but lots of fatigue in your right arm as you pull with the left across your body. Exhaling and just generating as much force as you can with those arms. It's again 49% against 51 pulling across, and then the left is 49 and the right here is 51 as you push to the outside. So as you go back and forth like this under max tension, right arm winning out, left arm winning back, you're going to start to create immense amounts of heat in all those tissues and in your nervous system. In that heat that you generate more and more and more of, the force and the heat starts to give the tissue a chance to change its shape and its relationship. As that happens and we target different parts of the body, every muscle works the same way. Could be in the jaw, small jaw muscle, same thing. As we eccentrically open that tissue under force, we have a chance to interact with and release whatever's held there, which is so much subconscious tension, right? The body is the subconscious made manifest. So as we dip into different tissues and we work through that process, we get access to what's held in the subconscious in order to work through and clear it.
Wow. I can understand that. I can understand that, and I can see that. It's so revolutionary but so right, in the thinking. Where did you learn a lot of that?
I learned the beginning of this process from Christopher Maher, who's a Navy SEAL, got out of the SEALs and when he was in his late 20s, Olympic runner, his body was destroyed, had to find a way to heal. And he developed this process with a guy named Bob Cooley and a team of people over about 25 years. And he's still fast working out there in the world, doing amazing stuff, just, growing a new movement slowly, as myself and a handful of other practitioners are.
How do people find out about this? I mean, I know you and I know your work is just so profound, but do you have what you have that
you can always go to truebodyintelligence.com is the site of my teacher. He offers some information about that. That's one place to access, but it's challenging because to create a real life transformation, what really matters to me and the other practitioners I work with, we're not interested in just like getting rid of ankle pain. Like, it's great, but we want more than that, right? I don't want just your tight shoulders to relax. I want to address what is the core tension you're holding, why, and how can we resolve that and integrate that so you can live a life free from that limitation. And that process is something that's not mainstream. It's not ABC. It's not sold easily. It's not understood easily. Real healing is not going to just come because you buy something or get in a program or, you have desire. It takes more than that often. So it's kind of a hard sell because the pain and the challenge and the conflict inside that you've got to face and feel to heal is real and controlling your life. And it takes work to stay present with what you've accumulated and actually deal with it and release it. And so the work is specific and is not, it's not for the faint of heart, we'll say, It takes kind of a warrior in a sense to really move through that energy and to come back into our heart rather than to regulate and run our lives with our mind. There's so much limitation in that process. So coming back into a real embodiment of yourself is quite a process.
I think people have to, we have to ship you out to different places
Yeah.
so that you can spread this because it's so true and it's so right on what you're saying. And having been in healing for so many years, I understand there's that missing piece or that hidden piece is a better way of saying it because you can bring people around but there's always something that brings them back into their depressions or their feelings. But I can understand now what you're saying is that through this work, you'll get rid of it from the body, and if you get rid of it from the body, then it's just going to not be in the consciousness of. Oh, get rid of it in the subconscious; it won't be in the conscious.
And again, if I'm stacking, storing tension and holding an emotional state and staying in repetition with that inside, I have to break that cycle. And in order to break that cycle of anxiety, stress, tension, fear, trauma, I've got to stay fully present and start to deal with that force that I've accumulated.
Yeah.
On a basic physical level, someone comes in to me with back pain, we deal with the physical level. We open up the glute medius, we open up the quads, we start really targeting the tissues that create relief in the lower back. But that's just an entry. The whole point, I want them to be out of pain. I want to be out of pain too. But the point is an entry point when they realize, oh, that accumulation of that lower back pain has to do with these things in my life. And then we can start to move deeper and start to actually create a long-term change, not just a quick pain relief, right? But the pain is based in accumulation in most situations. It's based in avoidance. It's based in protection and fear.
Yeah. And resistance, right? Resistance is like what you're talking about is how it shows up in the body. And it's actually, not wanting to look at certain things, rather forget them and push them away. But when you push them away, you're just pushing them deep into the body, which is why you have to go so deep in order to have them be released. It's a great way of understanding the complexities of the human condition in today's age. I wish
we're living in a stress matrix.
Replicate you.
Everything around us potentially can lead to more stress. And we're all like, it's like we're in a set of waves and there's just another one comes, another one comes. It just feels like at this stage of life in our world, in America, say, the waves are just going to keep on coming. You can't stop the waves. All you can do is develop resilience, make space inside yourself, build strength, build flexibility, right? Build resilience in your nervous system so you can face whatever's coming and stay present and aligned.
That's great. That's great. Well, thank you so much for being a guest today on Be Your Own Advocate. It was so nice to have you, and the information that you provided is definitely eye-opening. So I'd love to have you on again sometime in the future to share more and have people, embrace this idea because it really is the pathway out. So
yeah, thank you for bringing me. And it's difficult to figure out how we can talk about something so large in such a short, quick set, but hopefully some of that translated well to the listeners. And all I can say is that start to use force, like resistance, when you're doing yoga, when you're stretching, when you're moving. Use the resistance to transform that stuck energy. Without the resistance, it's going to be, we're going to move around it and it's never really going to go. A quick example, fear, right? Fear builds and builds and builds and builds so much that it appears like it's this real limitation. But when we step into it, often it dissolves, just like anxiety. You do deep breaths, you move into it, and then it dissolves. But it was a construct in our mind, in our emotional body that was keeping it alive. So try to move into and towards the discomfort, the tension in your body, in your life, in your relationship, and stay present, and the healing will happen.
Do you ever put when you're doing the movement, like words or affirmations or some type of mental piece to it, or do you just let it happen?
Yes, sometimes for sure. But we speak to, rather than, I'll give you a quick example, affirmations people say is, I want more money, or I want something, right? The universe hears you want means you don't have, right? You're speaking from a negative. So instead, in our languaging, it's more I am, right? It is. And then to the degree to which it is, will continue to grow the more that we're present with that awareness.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of present conversation, body,
Right.
brain, nervous system. Allow yourself to feel, to move, to think, you know what I mean? You speak directly to the body, to the brain, to the organs, to your muscles, to the trauma, to your parents. One thing that's important to know is it's never too late to do the work in our life, and it's never too late to address the ways in which we haven't forgiven people and experiences in our life. It's never too late. It's alive in our body, maybe not theirs. It's alive in us, and that's what matters. So if we can start to face what's in our body, we can change the relationship for the better for all of us, and we can start to be free from the past.
Yeah, and the trauma, I believe that there's a lot of people that have in their life situations have been in a lot of trauma instances that then they have the pain from, sometimes physical, whether maybe first responders or something like that, who are naturally very, very strong.
Yep.
After a while, their bodies are sore and they're aching. And so they've been absorbing the trauma. And this type of movement exercise that has to do with releasing that, it would be such a key component to, to how they age, to their bodies, how they get older, not even realizing that the trauma is locked in their bodies rather than just their heads or their minds or their thoughts.
Yeah, and trauma, trauma brings up different stuff. Sometimes you can think of it as just pressure or, stagnation. Sometimes trauma gets a little bit heady for people. But if you just think about where you've suppressed and where you hold tension in your body and how that's become a pattern, you could call that trauma. That's an effective trauma, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then how do we really start to recognize that we're safe and that trauma and that accumulation and that suppression was based in the past and is no longer the same threat now?
Mm-hmm.
I think it takes some deep analysis and feeling in your body to really get a sense of that and to make it real. We're like, oh, that biggest fear I've always had since I was 5 years old can't manifest now because I'm 45.
Right.
So even if it were to manifest in the way I thought, it wouldn't be a threat to me because I'm a man,
Yeah.
But the little boys running most of us, little boys running our country right now, little boys running nations all over the world because we're an unhealed culture.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really like the idea of the first responders addressing those people who are out there on the front lines doing work in life and who are really, really important to our communities, our society, our families, and the anxiety and the trauma, the accumulation and the suppression they have to go through to continue to regulate and do life.
Yeah.
Really would love to address that held tension with those people in specific ways because there's so much opportunity to quickly. For example, a man, we use our physical force often to create more and more catabolism, breakdown, dysfunction, tension, right? We go to the gym, we do this, we do that, we do that. It's good, but it's all building. And if we're building too much, we're breaking down. So for a man to have the ability to use something like this, we're talking about this arm as an example, but you use legs, every muscle in your body, start to use maximal force, breathing, working as hard as you possibly can in order to get a release and a benefit as opposed to a drawdown. So instead of tearing ourselves down, we can use maximal force in the eccentrics to release ourselves and open ourselves up and get the energy starts flowing through us again.
Yeah. Not
that we don't have the energy, it's locked up.
Right. I love it. I love it. Makes me excited for the possibilities. So, well, again, thank you. Thank you, Isaiah. Thank you very much for sharing all that you shared. It was very informative. And we'll talk again soon. So
thank you, Isabel. Appreciate you.